Welcome to Pastor Andrew's Inspirations. Today we will be talking about the biblical city of Berea. Berea, or Berea, was a city of the Hellenic and Roman era, now known as Berea or Beroia, in Macedonia, northern Greece. It is a small city on the eastern side of the Vermion Mountains, north of Mount Olympus. The town is mentioned in the Acts of the Apostles, where the apostles Paul, Silas, and Timothy preached the Christian gospel. Paul, Silas, and Timothy traveled to Berea by night after fleeing from Thessalonica, as recorded in Acts chapter 17, verse 10. They immediately went to the synagogue of the Jews to preach, and the Bereans were very accepting. The writer of the Acts of the Apostles noted the difference between the Thessalonians' response to the gospel and the Bereans' response. The Bereans were open-minded or fair-minded and willing to examine the scriptures to see if Paul and Silas were teaching the truth. Many of the Bereans believed, both men and women, but when the Jewish Thessalonian non-believers heard about this, they came to Berea, stirring up crowds, starting riots, and ensuring that Paul, Silas, and Timothy could not preach. Then the believers sent Paul to the coast, while Timothy and Silas stayed behind. Paul was taken to Athens, and word was given to Timothy and Silas to join him as soon as possible in Acts chapter 17, verses 10 to 15. Berea was located in southwestern Macedonia, which was a province of the Roman Empire in its time. No one has verified the date of the establishment of the city, although it has been known to have been surrendered to the Romans from the Macedonians after the Battle of Pydna in 168 BC. There is a city of the same name that is mentioned in a section of Thucydides, which dates it to around the year 432 BC. In Polybius, there were two insertions about an inscription that dates the city back to the latter part of the 4th century BC. The city's foundation stood where modern-day Berea, or Carveria in Greece, is today. It is located in a unique position. There was a variety of terrain that surrounded the city back then and even today. Being positioned at the base of Mount Bermius, which is part of the Olympian mountain range, an ample supply of water provided for city and the region. A big source of water was Eleacommon River and Axius River, which provided the plains with a beautiful supply of water to nurture the apple, peach, and pear orchards. However, even now the area is known to be quite wealthy with the fueling of the area's industrial section due to the presence of an electrical dam on the Eleacommon River. This city was also the first city of Macedonia region to fall to the Roman Empire following the Battle of Pydna in 168 BC. During the time of Paul the Apostle, where there were two major roads joining the towns of Thessalonica and Berea, one of them passing close to the ancient city of Pella. There are some assumptions that the Apostle Paul used this route when visiting Berea. Berea was one of the two capitals when Diocletian ruled the Roman Empire from 284 through 305 AD. Ancient custom says that Saint Onesimus was the first bishop of Berea. The bishops in Berea were under the authority of the head of the ecclesiastic province in Thessalonica, but was later assigned its own ecclesiastic province by Andronicus II from 1283 to 1328. Berea has had a long history from ancient times till the modern day. Paul and Silas ministered to the Jewish community of Berea around 54 and 55 AD. The two men had been driven out of the city of Thessalonica by an angry mob for spreading the gospel there. Paul and Silas made their journey from Thessalonica to Berea by night in Acts chapter 17 verse 10. It is also said that Timothy, a student of the Apostle Paul, joined him during the journey to Berea. The people of Berea were more accepting than the people of Thessalonica of the message from the apostle and his companion. The community was said to consider carefully what they learned from Paul before truly believing it in Acts chapter 17 verses 11 and 12. After Paul, Silas, and the other members of their group had spent several days in Berea, some Jews from Thessalonica got word that Paul and Silas were preaching in Berea and stirred up trouble. Paul was again forced to leave. Some members of the congregation helped Paul to get to Athens, but Silas and Timothy stayed in Berea, then later caught up with Paul in the city of Corinth in Acts chapter 18 verse 5. Later, a certain Sopater of Berea joined Paul on his journey in Acts chapter 20 verse 4. It is said that Sopater was ordered by a delegation from Berea to go to Judea with funds that would help the needy of that region. Bishopric of Berea goes back to the New Testament. The former diocese of ancient city of Berea, now Berea, was in the Roman province of Macedonia in today's northern Greece. Today, it belongs to the ecclesiastical province of Thessalonica. The Catholic see of Berea is today a vacant titular of that church centered on northern Greece. Onesimus, formerly Philemon's slave, was its first bishop according to the apostolic constitutions. Gerontius took part in the Council of Sardica in 344. Lucas in the Robber Council of Ephesus 449. Sebastian in the Council of Chalcedon 451. Timothy in the Synod convoked by Patriarch Menas of Constantinople in 536, and Joseph in the Council of Constantinople 869 that condemned Photius. The Byzantine Emperor Michael Palaeologos promoted the local see to an archbishopric after 1261, and it advanced further to the rank of the metropolitan see by 1300. Berea is today listed by the Catholic Church as a titular see. At the time of the last partition of the empire, it was allotted to Macedonia Prima, and its see made suffragan to Thessalonica. Under Andronicus II, 1283, Berea was made a metropolis. The Greek metropolitans added the title of Naosa, a neighboring city. It has now about 10,000 inhabitants. Amongst its archbishops were the biblical Onesmus. Gerontius was present at Sardica in 344. Luke at the Latrocinium of Ephesus in 449. Timothy at the Council of Constantinople under the Patriarch Menas in 536. Joseph at the Ecumenical Council in 869. An unnamed Catholic bishop in 1235. Alfredo Ottaviani from April 5th to April 19th, 1962. Pierre Auguste Marie Joseph Douliard, May 22nd to August 20th, 1963. And Frederick Kaiser de Pell, October 29th, 1963 to September 26, 1993. And this is the biblical city of Berea. May God's blessings be upon us all.